And welcome back to another episode of The Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and I am so excited that you joined us today. We want to always start our segment by thanking our sponsors. So thank you so much to Equity First. If you are experiencing credit and or financial challenges, feel free to reach out to any one of their trained professionals. They are bilingual, nationwide, and waiting for your call. They could be reached at 631-714-4822. And with that said, I am so excited for our next guest. We have with us Geraldine DelPrete. She is now the new board chair for Pop Earth. And of course, we are so excited to have her on because April is Autism Awareness Month. So Geraldine, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm very excited to be on also and make people aware of autism and what's going on in the month of April.
So let's just deep dive right in. So we know you are the board chair at Pop Earth, and I am a huge fan of Deb Stone and all of the work that she does.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the responsibilities that a board chair like yourself has.
The responsibilities is to make sure that I am compliant, that I make sure that the organization is compliant with state regulatory issues around a non-for-profit. I'm also responsible for raising funds and making sure those funds are appropriated correctly, and I'm also responsible for helping Debbie promote the cause and create a future and increase the awareness of autism throughout the country.
Now, I know that we've had Deb on the show in the past, but again, I wanted to make sure that we highlight Pop Earth and what they do for our communities. So give us a little idea of the services that Pop Earth offers to the people in the community that are unfortunately diagnosed with autism.
Sure. First, I'd like to say, Rhonda, that I don't think people are aware that more than 5 million people have autism spectrum disorder today. One out of every 54 children are diagnosed at some point, either in their early years or even beyond some of the early years with autism spectrum disorder, and so we really and yet it is the most for a disorder. It's the most neglected from a funding perspective, meaning that they get the least amount of funds. And so everything has to be really created by the communities in which we live in. And so Pop Earth is really dedicated to serving those communities and helping parents deal with the issue of autism. We create special programs like music therapy and art. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that autistic children and autistic individuals are really quite creative. And so if they have an issue and they're nonverbal, the best way for you to engage an autistic child or adult is through some creative measure. And so that's what we provide to the community. We provide a safe place that they can come and they can their children can experience specialized programs like the kitchen, like cooking, like art, and music therapy and yoga.
Now, you just hit on something so important. So the new center in Huntington, right here on Long Island, has a kitchen. And I know that when Deb was getting the new facility, she was so excited to teach children how to cook, but more, also to help those to learn some of the basic skills. How can you teach somebody in the kitchen environment from a occupational therapy standpoint?
How you can is, like, there's all degrees of autism, right? There are degrees of the disorder that, some are nonverbal, some are very verbal, right? Some are very high functioning and some are less functioning, right? And so you basically group them in that essence, and then what you tailor around it is you tailor them preparing maybe a food that they like to eat, or maybe a food that has a certain color, or they can associate, and you do something creative with that food, right? It becomes a celebration, maybe a cake or a cookie or birthday parties, right? And that is how you put them in small groups like that, and that's how you basically, do the therapy.
We help them along. Now, tell me a little bit, do you think that down the line, there may be a program for job training in the kitchen?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's right on our target. The Clock Isles Foundation and this center that we've done in Huntington Station is the first, I hope, of many, right? Because, there are really very little programs for autism when you get to the age of 18 and above. And so this provides a way in which we can provide these types of programs, music and art and this kitchen, to that maybe we can give them the skills that eventually we could then get them jobs, right? And I'm not saying in a high stressful job or anything like that, right? But nobody says that they can't work in a kitchen and assist a chef or a sous chef, right? There's all kinds of things that they can do.
I had a guest on not that long ago who owns a chain of restaurants, and he goes out of his way to hire developmentally disabled adults because most often they can follow tasks. And he goes, Rhonda, they will sit there for 3 hours straight folding pizza boxes for me. He goes, but I'm doing something good for the community. It's self-serving for them. He says, I pay them the same. So it's not where I'm discriminating or I'm saying, hey, I can get some labor that might cost less. But it's a feel-good scenario to know that you're hiring people with developmental disabilities. And sometimes that falls in with the autism spectrum as well. Now, I know that, April is Autism Awareness Month, and there's so many different types of autism organizations that people can support. And we always know that, again, Deb does amazing work with Pop Earth. What events are coming up, or how do people learn more about Pop Earth and how they can help either support or even create a fundraiser to support Pop Earth?
Love that question.
Thank you.
In April, on April 25th, it's a Tuesday night from 6 to 8. I'm sponsoring a cocktail hour at the Columbus Citizens Foundation on 8 East 69th Street in New York City. It's going to be our first time that we're since COVID, that we're attempting to go back into the city, and we hope to make this a very successful evening. It'll be 2 hours in a beautiful club, and we're going to talk about autism, and we're going to give parents can come and they can meet other parents that have autistic children, and they can start to network. And we're really excited about getting ourselves back to fundraising, especially in New York City. And so that will be $135 a ticket. And I think it's an important fact that our overhead at Pop Earth is 12 to 13%. So that means that almost 82% of every dollar that gets donated goes straight to the cause. It goes to our programs. And so it makes our programs affordable for those that naturally would not have something that is affordable. We don't ever turn anybody down because they can't afford something.
And I love that, and it's so important to know that people have a place to go. And I think also, just for the sake of time, I also want to point out that if you are a listener and you want to get involved, or you may have a business that wants to support, or you may want to consider just making, it doesn't even have to be a monetary donation. Sometimes raffle items and other items are just as important to help local not-for-profits become successful. So I just want to thank our guest today, Geraldine DelPrete, again, board chair at Pop Earth. If you are interested in learning more or becoming a sponsor or getting involved, visit popearth.org for more information. Until next time, stay tuned for our next guest.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.